So we'll move those there, all right? Hmm? 22. Yeah, we need to go to.
We go to 22.
You want to go? Oh, do you want to go to 22?
Yeah, just because you're going to leave at 3.
Oh, my apologies. Okay. Oh, hi, Ariel. You have to go home and look after baby or something? Good on you. Come up. Agenda. Oh, we'll go to agenda number item 22. Ariel has to go by 3. So, Miss King, Ariel, hope you don't mind me calling you. Been nice to see you in this chamber over the last 6 years.
Thank you.
Except for a short period there. Increased our population.
Yeah, just by 3. So. Alrighty.
Revocation of selected Taupo District Council policies.
It is great to be back, so hello to everybody.
Oh, sorry, where you go, Ariel?
Okay. This item is a continuation of items that we've been bringing over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, where we're trying to ensure that all of Council's policies are up to date and consistent. So what we have done is we have gone through up to a certain point in time, and we'll be continuing this process as we go forward. And I have attached an appendix of policies for you to consider revoking today. Most of them have been superseded by legislation or things such as our annual report or the TDC delegations manual, which was adopted in June 2012. So I wanted to know if there was any particular questions anybody had on any other policies. Otherwise, we can move to resolution.
So you've got the lists as attached and the reasons for the revocation. Does anybody have any particular question to any of the policies? So it's another cleansing of the cupboard, so to speak.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Spring clean time. So there's a suggested resolution that the Council revokes the policies contained in Appendix 1. So if there's no further questions of clarity on Appendix 1, I'll ask for a mover and a seconder, please. Move, Councillor Johnson. Second, Councillor Downard. Any other questions? Anyone want to speak against the motion? No. All in favour, say aye. Aye. Well done by 3 o'clock, Miss King. Okay, Gareth, you've got me all over the place. What will you go back to now? So it must be 18, isn't it? Number 18, adoption of the Taupo District Council annual report.
Sorry, Mayor, can I just ask something just on, I know Ariel's gone, but just it might be more Tina Jakes, just in reading in those in the meetings and the workshop procedures, how we have workshops and we don't actually take minutes are recorded in those workshops. Do we have to change the policy? I mean, in an informal workshop, I'm just thinking of future council or whoever gets in, I believe that we probably should take minutes on those informal meetings, because a lot of discussion had in those workshops. I should have brought it up when Ariel's here, but is that a procedure that we have to change the policy? So you don't need to change policy, just request that. You can request that. Thanks. Thank you.
So would it then be an informal workshop? I thought, and would you adopt those at your monthly meeting? No. You just keep them for record.
But it's still good to have minutes so you can go back and see what's discussed.
Agreed. Okay, we're on to 18.
Okay.
So Mr. Menhennet.
Right. You have a copy of the draft annual report. Why I call it draft is because we thought we would have the audit opinion by today. There has been a delay in discussions with the audit director yesterday. They're quite comfortable with the numbers. There's just some processes that they still have to complete. Hence, we can't adopt the annual report today. We can only receive it, because without the audit report we cannot adopt.
And as a matter of record for webcam and the minutes, if you'd like to record them, I've had personal phone calls with Mr. Ben Halford, who has stated that Taupo District Council is in very, very good health, both in its recording and all its procedures as far as he's concerned. He also came to this council and addressed you fellow councillors and told you the same thing. So I thank Mr. Halford for travelling down to Tauranga and clarifying that. He didn't need to, but he did. Just because it's not ready by today is simply procedural on behalf of the auditor's office and nothing else. Anything further? Lynette, do you want to speak to the report at all? We'll take it as read.
Take it as read.
Okay, so you'll have to change the suggested resolution, won't you?
There's additional paper.
Oh, did you put a supplementary? Oh, I must have lost it. Where is it? Supplementary bill. What does it read, please?
Would be received.
Sorry.
I'll move, Your Worship. I'll move your suggested resolution.
Can't be adopted, be received, not adopted. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so the annual report be received, and the annual report and summary annual report be received, not adopted. So, can that be adopted by the next council comes on, or what?
Yes, we once the new council is sworn in, which is the 29th of October, if we then have a special on the 30th of October, we can adopt it at that date. As long as it's adopted before the 31st.
Whoever gets in at the elections will be given a copy straight after the elections to peruse before you ask them to adopt on the 29th?
There is still a chance that the audit report could come through within the next week or so, in which case we could have a SPO, and this particular council, if it's prior to the 12th of October, can adopt it.
Be nice to tidy up our own business. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I think Councillor Hickling was the mover for the amended resolution. And a seconder, please. Secondly, Councillor Kirk. All those in favour, say aye. Aye. And please do direct that if it comes through in time, I think all of us would like to adopt it, please. Number 19, develop a reserves management plan for the Southwestern Bay settlements. This must be purely mechanical. Because we have already agreed to do this in our long-term plan or the annual plan. One of the plans, we've already agreed to do this. So this really is mechanical, I feel. And I'll see if my fellow councillors agree.
I'm happy to move it, Your Worship, and I'm glad to see that it does cover the reserves in Whai, Kuratau, Mori and Pukawa. I think it needs to be a bit more wide than when the submissions came through from on the Kuratau side. So I'm happy to move that.
Moved by Councillor Kepper. Seconded Councillor Downard. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, we've workshopped this one through, so again, this is fairly mechanical. Approval of the Control of Dogs Bylaw, General Bylaw number 1, Liquor Control Bylaw, which has been overridden by central government. We have to do a certain system, and the Dog Control Policy. So, yeah, I see Nick there, but again, this has been workshopped. I just open it up for the floor to next, Mr. Carroll.
Slight change.
Oh, you've changed the rules. You do that with consultation to the public?
We'd like to keep you on your toes.
Come on then.
Attached here is an amended resolution. This is very much about dotting I's and crossing T's. You'll see that we've included number 5, which is just making it very explicit that we're revoking the previous copy. We're not required to do so under local government act, but there's no harm in being explicit. The other element that I just wanted to clarify, for those who weren't involved in the hearing process, when we went out for consultation, we talked about Spa Thermal Park being included in the liquor ban area. We received very few, in fact we received 3 submissions on that point, 2 opposed and 1 for. So the decision was made through that hearing process not to proceed with Spa Thermal Park being part of that Liquor area. So that's really the substantial change through the hearing process. The other minor tweaks that you would have seen in the bylaws through the track change versions, we're really just about clarifying a few matters and fixing up some minor amendments.
It's all wordsmithing, isn't it? Okay, Councillor Henderson.
I have a question about the dog control bylaw. If I understand, there's a fundamental change there, which will essentially mean now that it's an offence not to have a dog on a leash in any area in the district which is not a designated off-leash exercise area. Is that correct?
What we haven't changed that situation through the bylaw. All we've done is made it much clearer. We had a number of clauses that sat in the old bylaw, and they referred to a number of different schedules, and it was somewhat convoluted if you tried to work your way through the bylaw. So that situation hasn't changed. All we've done is made it clearer.
There's only one area though that's unleashed, isn't it?
You will see.
Out of all the areas, there's only one area that's unleashed.
Yep. What about the dockland at 5 Mile Bay?
In the second schedule to the bylaw, we've got A through to Q, which identify the dog exercise areas where they're not required to be on the leash. The first schedule talks about prohibited areas.
Taupo Bay, there's quite a few. But in general, high public areas, yes, dogs basically have to be on a leash.
Everywhere. I have a question. So in that case, theoretically, if you were walking a dog down the beach at Waitahanui, say, it was off the leash, would you be in breach of the bylaw? I believe you would be.
If it was in a public place and it wasn't identified in the second schedule,
Be in breach of the bylaw.
correct.
Thank you.
Well, seeing a certain person in the room, I'll just play the devil's advocate for a minute. All the properties of Waitanui got riparian rights, so how are you going to tell people on private property that they can't have their dog on a leash? No, they must have their dog on a leash. That was a curly one, don't worry about it. But that's how silly some laws can be, can't they? The question was, from Councillor Henderson, at Waitanui. Now, Waitanui is all riparian rights. All the properties have riparian rights. Yeah, that's why we have judges and lawyers. So, who wants to move and second these amended suggested resolutions for these, please? I'll move it. A seconder? I'm not allowed a second. 50. Councillor Truman? All those in favour? Thank you.
Your Honour, I'd just like to record my vote against the dog bylaws.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Sorry, I should have asked for against. Against Councillor Henderson and recorded, please. Yeah. Oh, you'll have to vote against all four. Is that right? Because I didn't put them up separately.
Technically, that's what
I
I have
go
to
back
do.
and put them up separately. Which one?
No, it's fine. But just like it recorded that my concern is with the dog bylaws and not the other matters.
Okay. Number 21. Taupo District Council submission on the proposed national monitoring system for the Resource Management Act. So, we got you again, Mr. Carroll.
It's my lucky day. Very quickly, the Ministry for the Environment and the government as a whole is looking at how it collects information, particularly around the implementation of the Resource Management Act. You'll be aware that they're going through a myriad of changes in relation to that legislation. They've received some feedback that some of those changes aren't necessarily backed by robust analysis of what the actual problem was. As a result, they've identified a need to collect better and more consistent information. So they're developing a national monitoring system, which is essentially targeted at the Resource Management Act. We've put in the submission raising some concerns around potential costs to council. When you take a significant number of local authorities and try and standardise the way they do things, that obviously has a cost implication. To be fair to say, at this stage, the detail in the proposal is scant, and that makes the estimation of those costs difficult. But it's certainly a point that we felt was worth making to the government.
Councillors? The suggested resolution there that we approve the submission on the proposed National Monitoring System for the Resource Management Act 1991. Council approves it. Anybody want to move that? Move, Councillor Truman, seconded Councillor Johnson. All those in favour, say aye. 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 Find it'll fall on deaf ears. Okay, what have we got left in the way of council engagements up until D-Day? Taupo Airport Committee on Monday the 7th, Councillor Johnson, myself. And that's about it. We may, if Mr. Van Hennett can get the Auditor General's sign off before then, call an SPO to do that very job. I don't think anybody's going to want to go for any conferences in the next 2 weeks. They certainly won't expect the ratepayer to pay for it if they were. So, so we have to, it's not on here though, is it? And we also have to authorise whoever the new mayor is to go to mayor's school in Wellington, don't we? Yeah, 17th, Thursday the 17th and 18th of October. I must say I enjoyed it with Bob's, Bob Harvey that year. It was a very enjoyable bottle of whiskey. So, move it please. Move, Councillor Kirk, seconded. Councillor Downard, all those in favour say aye. 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 That includes that day that you wanted, 29th, was it? Mistakes? Yeah. Okay, members' reports. I'll start this side round the table. Councillor Henders, do you want to do it today or Miss Jakes? Members' reports. Normally Miss Jakes does it, but you did it once the other week, so I thought, well, you might want to do it again.
No, if there's any particular items of interest in regards to meetings that I've attended that I think worth bringing up, I bring them up. If not, as usual, Ms. Jakes has my diary available.
All work for you, Ms. Jakes. Councillor Johnson.
We attended the Zone 2 meeting, very informative as to where local government and the advocacy they do. Waiora House board meeting, and as discussed earlier, attending a meeting with Air New Zealand for the betterment of the airport. Thank you.
Councillor Kirk.
Yes, I attended a Safe Kids training meeting for a Junior Expo, which I've alluded to before earlier this month. Like Councillor Johnston, the Zone 2 conference over 2 days, citizenship ceremony, opening of the Sports Advisory Council's new offices, Taupo Youth Employment Steering Group Committee earlier this year, and then also it was great to be a part of the site visit and blessing or opening of the water treatment plant this morning.
I'll come back to Councillor Craig because he's going to give us a brief report on his attendance at the Traffin's conference. Is that right?
Yes.
Councillor Heckley? I'm sorry, Matt, I skipped. I'm coming back to Councillor Craig.
I thought you were going
yeah, okay.
No, that's all right.
Okay.
It's fine. It's fine. I attended the last meeting of the Regional Transport Committee at the beginning of the month. I also attended Laurie Badette's farewell at the Yacht Club 2020 Taupo Near Tier Lake Taupo Protection Committee.
Thank you. Councillor Truman?
Yeah, I went to the Zone 2 meeting. So did Barry. Oh,
well, it was here in Taupo.
Yeah. The Turahanga Settlers and Sports Association meeting. And on Sunday we had a visit from Minister Nikki Kay and Louise Upston. And exciting news for Mangakino, they're launching a new youth program called YES, which is Youth in Emergency Services. And that's going to be for youth aged between 16 and 19. And they're going to get involved in the local ambulance, St. John's Fire Brigade, gaining those skills and hopefully become a volunteer base for those emergency services. So we had some youth from Rotorua that came over and talked about the pilot that ran over there, and they were they're really excited about it. They gain a lot of skills, a lot of confidence. So yeah, so we're lucky enough to have that happen first in Mangakino.
Councillor Truman, Councillor Kipper.
Yeah, I went to Zone 2 as well, but I don't think there was anything significant that came out of Zone 2, anything that was really going to affect things in the future. So went to Louise Upston's office with a group of consumers who are still carrying on the fight against the Lines Company charges, or the methodology they use for those charges. If you recall, Ruapehu had a user group, which I was appointed by the board to attend. That group hasn't sat for a long time. There have been changes within the management of TLC, or the Lines Company. The new CEO was one of the members of the group, so things have kind of fallen apart in that respect, but Louise has undertaken for the user group, the resident group, to take up their concerns.
Thank you, Councillor Kipper. Councillor Downard.
The Taupo Settlers Association meeting, citizens ceremony, the Trust Power volunteer awards, the youth awards, and then the Raukawa joint agreement signing, which was quite a big deal with 5 other mayors around the surrounding districts of the river.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Downard. Somebody moves at those members. Oh, I'm sorry, I've got to come back. Sorry, I skipped you. Yeah, okay. Sorry, Councillor Craig.
Most of the ones that everyone else mentioned, but I was privileged to chair the Youth Awards judging panel. I went to the Youth Awards last week. Yeah. I also, thanks to you people, went to the Safety and Efficiency conference put on by Traffins. If I can just indulge you just a few key points that I've put out. Promise I won't go on too long. The attendance was about 200. 50% of them were police. The conference was over 3 days, and sadly I missed one day because I was sick. Good news and bad news out of the conference. First of all, the road casualty figure for this current year could be the lowest ever. 15 years ago, we had 800 odd people killed, 800 odd people. You know what I mean? 800 odd, not people. Yeah, not odd people. Killed on the roads. This year we could be under 300 killed on the roads. Now, how did this come about, this decline? First of all, we've got stronger, bigger cars with airbags. So a lot of people that would have died were saved by the construction of their car. Education, a lot of education's gone into in the last 15 years. Signage, the safety journeys policy, speed restrictions and laws, licensing laws, when kids, and the speed restrictions that we put on in the district, that's with them. The head-ons have been reduced by, in a lot of cases, by, I mentioned it this time last year, wire rope barriers. And one of the things that came up in the conference is, wish we had put the wire rope barriers in the ETA, because it would have solved 3 lives and probably a few more accidents, because they avoid head-ons. They don't go up. They can't get over this wire rope. It's like but the only sad thing was that cyclists' deaths and motorbikes' deaths were up. Interesting speaker from Sweden. Sweden's a model for road safety. They've got the policy of 0 deaths on their road for this year. Now that is incredible, and they've got all the latest policies in place to carry that out. Queensland is interesting. A psychologist came from there, Dr. Fleiter, and said that the psychology of driving is just as much important as everything else. What people can take in when they're seeing, how people react to all the gadgets on their car. So that was an interesting one. Peter Corlegast of Opus talked about walking as a safe mode of transport, and that was interesting. That. I found the most interesting one was Glenn Curry. Dr. Glenn Curry from Christchurch University talked about the cycling sort of revolution that's going on, if you'll excuse the pun, and how all over the world he had examples of cities that have transformed and prevented gridlock by getting more cycle lanes in. And it was impacting. Just to give you an example, in London, where this man came from many years ago, 1 in 4 of the vehicles now on the London, in the city roads of London, are cycles. So they've just gone crazy on cycling there. Harry Wilson from NZTA was another interesting one. He gave his Waikato Regional, I got it right, Dennis? Waikato Regional officer. We've got, in our district, we've got the heaviest road use, and we've got the most accidents, and we've got the worst roads. I think, Barry, it comes under your estimate. He's talking about reducing the road transport, the number of vehicles, by having B trains with 9 axles in the future. And it's interesting to know that NZTA also covers rail transport, and we're one of the only districts in the whole of New Zealand that's got no railway service in our whole district. And it's all to do with moving stuff to the port, of course, of Tauranga, and the inland port of, Crawford Street in Hamilton, yes. Karen Hay from Auckland talked on the high-risk rural roads, and we've got a lot of those in our district. I'll have to mention Poipi. Thank you for letting me go to this. There's far more to it than that. Lots of information, and any questions?
Mary, perhaps I could expand. There was something out of zone too. Harry Wilson was one of the speakers, and he spoke about the H trucks, that's the high volume trucks, and the changing of the configurations of the axles. Now, I have a family member in the trucking industry, and he tells me because of the road user charges that changed. Whereas if you have a 55-ton truck now and you're only carrying 10-ton, you still have to pay for a 55-ton sticker. Previously, you only paid for a 10-ton sticker. The effect of that is these truckie firms are coming in and asking them to change the axles and alter the steering tandem steers of the rear axles. The effect of that is, I see it every day travelling up, or when I travel up from Turangi, is when the truck is steering out over the centre line around a left-hand bend, the back end of the truck is crossing the fog line. What is the danger of that? If you're a cyclist and the truck front end goes past you, you've got to be worried about the back end. So our roads may not really be meeting the standard or the safety standards for the new changes.
Well, I'm sorry, but I mean, most people know my opinion about all this, but it was the last government that raised trucks from 44 tonnes to 53, and it was a certain ex-MP who took me to task and said they weren't lengthened and weren't going to be any bigger. Well, they're 2 metres longer. They've gone from 44 tonnes to 53, and for enjoyment, I ride a motorbike a lot, and I can tell you now, the roads in this district are falling to bits very, very fast. And now they make more stupid rules. But hey, read the signs. Look what's behind you. It says that sign over there. I'm going, why? I'm trying to go this way. Crazy. So there you go. So nothing further from there. Members' reports be received. Mover, please. Move. Councillor Johnson, seconder. Over here, Councillor Hickling. Now, I am going to have to exclude the public. And this is a procedural matter to do a confidential item. Then I'll be opening it back up. It should only take a couple of minutes. If you want to come back in for agenda items 16 and 17, you're welcome to. Yeah. And if you want to come back in for 16 and 17, you're welcome to, but I have to deal with this issue before we can deal with those 2 agenda items.